Hi, I'm Larry Johnson. I'm a professor at Texas A&M University, and today we're going to talk about the nephrons and the urinary system. We want to talk about the nephron parts and the cortex and the medulla, their features and functions and types of nephrons, blood vessel features and functions near nephrons, and identification of nephron components as part of the urinary system. And so we can see the cortex and the medulla, and here's a nephron sitting here with the glomerulus up in the cortex area, and then the fluid goes to minor calyx, major calyx, to the pelvis, and to the ureter. Now, where the ureter and the blood vessels go in and out, that is the hilus region of the kidney. And here we see the kidneys of various kidneys. We see the cortex and the medulla, and the cortex, medulla, and also we have a capsule that surrounds the kidney, dense irregular connective tissue with fibroblasts. We see the capsule located in different places. It's a renal capsule. You will see the capsule around this drawing, but with cortex and medulla with the capsule, and this is really a minor calyx that fluid is removed from this area. And we can see that on this diluted in blue slide too. This is the cortex and the medulla. So cortex, medulla again, and what's located in these are nephrons, and nephrons are of different kinds. You have the juxtamedullary nephron, the one right next to the medulla, and those are the ones that have long loop of Henle, and those loop of Henles are located down deep into the medulla. And then there's also corticonephrons. The corticonephrons are located in the cortex, and they have a short loop of Henle, and the loop of Henle itself could be somewhat down in the medulla, or it could be in the cortex itself. Now, regardless of which type of nephron, the juxtamedullary nephron or the corticonephron, the collecting tubule in both cases goes down through the medulla and empties out here in the minor calyx through the papillary ducts that are there through there, papillary ducts. And so regardless of type, they still have to go through the medulla to concentrate the urine. But here you can see where the thin portion of the loop of Henle is located in the cortex for the corticonephrons. And here we can see in this one slide, here you can see the dark glomeruli, the glomerulus here. These are the corticonephrons and the juxtamedullary nephrons, which we really can't tell any difference much. Later on, we will show a little difference because these are the ones that produce the renin that are next to the medulla with the long loop of Henle. But here we can see the thin portion of loop of Henle in the cortex. See where we are up there, way up here in the cortex, with a thin portion of loop of Henle, as we said was on the corticonephrons. Now, we mentioned before about the afferent and efferent arteriole and the two capillary networks, but also these connect with the nephron. Nephron is a structural and functional unit of the kidney, and we can see it has the corpuscle, which composes of Bowman's capsule, and then the tuft of capillaries is the glomerulus that's in there. That's the first capillary network in this portal system. And then from there you got the proximal convoluted tubule, and then you have a descending portion of the proximal tubule, a thin loop of Henle, ascending portion of the distal tubule, and then the distal convoluted tubule, and that empties into a collecting duct. And then the collecting duct goes out the pelvis through a papillary duct. So basically, the nephron consists of a glomerulus, which is how the blood interacts with the nephron, or how the filtrate is produced, the proximal convoluted tubule, loop of Henle, distal convoluted tubule, then the collecting tubule. Those are the components. And here we can see there's a difference in the afferent and efferent arteriole. The afferent arteriole is larger than the efferent arteriole, and that produces a pressure head that will help produce the filtrate. So remember here we had the afferent, efferent arteriole, and the capillaries of the glomerulus is in the first capillary loop of the portal system. And if we look at these, we see the corpuscle. This is the corpuscle with the glomerulus inside. We see the proximal tubules that has a brush border that we can see here. This the brush border that we see now, the brush border proximal tubule. And also we have a distal tubule. Distal tubule right here, we can see one. And then the loop of Henle is these portions here. We can see the loop of Henle. And then the collecting tubule is this here, one with distinct boundary between adjacent cells. Similar type thing with H&E. We're in the cortex here. We can see the glomerulus. We can see the Bowman's capsule, the parietal cells that goes around here. Proximal tubules with mostly the lumen is partly closed because of the brush border that's in there. Then we have a distal tubule as opposed to a proximal tubule, another distal tubule. Collecting tubules with distinct boundary between adjacent cells, several of those. And then we have the thin portion of the loop of Henle.
We want to thank the original sources of various images, drawings, figures that we might have used from these original sources of histology books that we might have used. Thank you. That's the end of urinary system, nephron parts in the cortex and medulla, the blood flow associated with nephrons, and identification of nephron components. Thank you.